Mm. Hey y'all, welcome to the Devon A. Morris Unfiltered Call-In Show. Have a seat. Let's get ready. You have any questions? Come on, call in. Come on to that Discord channel. Do me a favor, get the unfiltered crew some finger snaps. We're ready to get started here. Mondays, 8 p.m. Every single Monday, we're here. I'm excited about it. Are you? Let's get this show started, y'all. The greatest Scrum show on earth. I'll see y'all soon. Enjoy. How are you today? My name is Devon Morris, and you are on the Unfiltered Call-In Show, where we answer questions about Scrum, Agile, entrepreneurship, business in general. Just whatever's on your mind is what we deal with. So, welcome to another week. I think this is maybe episode 14 or 15 of this year. I don't know. I always forget. I wrote it someplace and then put it down, and then we go from there. But I'm excited, y'all. I'm excited, right? So first things first, I always, I'll put it in the chat later, but you probably know already. If you want to join the chat, you're welcome to join the chat. You're welcome to drop any comments in the chat. If you are here, I'll ask this later. Just drop a hello in the chat. Let me know that you're there. Kind of wave at me. Give me that hello so then I know that you're around. Other than that, we're just kind of moving forward. It's been an interesting week, so let's talk about what's going on first, because we always start there. Well, how about this? Take a look, people. You see that right there? That's the new background. I done changed up. This stuff can be touched. This is not a green screen effect, right? So welcome to the new office, people. Welcome to the new office. Place where we're going to be doing a lot of this show kind of stuff along the way. So this is one of the things that's an absolute pleasure. And I've been out of the space for a while just to kind of get it remodeled so then we can actually offer up an appropriate look for you. So welcome to the new space. New space, same content, same hour, half hour, hour and a half, whatever time we spend. What else is going on? This week actually at CSM CSPO is going on this week, right? So that makes it really a super busy week, along with classes. I'm just swamped, so I have no time to do anything additional this week whatsoever. Now, the other thing is, next week, I have ACSM, ACSPO. I got to make sure I send emails out about that to make sure that the people that are coming know what they need to do so then we get started on the right road for that. So you're welcome to join that. And then after that, we have the CSP. So just a few nice big things coming in the very near future over the next few weeks. What else is going on? I noticed a Scrum gathering coming, right? And it's coming in the beginning of June. The only problem is I actually have to go to a graduation. I literally have to go to a graduation, right? Because my daughter in Chicago is graduating that week. And then she has like other activities during the week after. Yeah. The week before she graduates, she has other activities. So it's either the week of her graduation or something. It's happening right around that time, right? So I got a conflict there. I may attend the Scrum gathering virtually. I like to go to things like that because it just kind of gives me an opportunity to reconnect with people, And I truly do love to reconnect with people and make sure that we are amazing, good to go, and doing the things that need to be done. Now, what else is going on? Other than that, it's just normal fare, normal news stuff. You will notice that I'm probably looking directly at you like that, or I might be grabbing some stuff and doing some things that need to happen. I'm just making sure that I pull up the chat so then we're good to go on that, and people, if they have a comment, they can drop that on me so that I can help out. Trista, hello, how you doing? Hopefully things are going well for you and your family. So thank you for that hello, that shout. Anyone else? Give me a shout so I know that you're there. Let's see. Now, we're going to have a topic today. We're going to talk about retroing yourself. And it's not really about retroing yourself. It's really using Scrum to help yourself out. And I'll walk through an example. So let's talk about the logistics of the show so then you all are on the same page that I'm on and we are moving forward in the same direction. The way this kind of works is really very simple. This is a call-in show and you are welcome to call in for the show. Now, we normally don't start accepting call-ins till about 15 minutes after, maybe even a little longer because we always talk about a little topic. You are welcome to call in, and that way you can end up being right beside me. It's likely you're going to be on this side, right? So you'll be right beside me, right? And we can exchange and have a conversation. And I always like to have those kind of exchanges and conversations because I can't really get at your real question a lot of time with the initial question that you ask. Sometimes it goes much deeper and we got to get at the root. So that's an option on a show. Another option on the show is for you to drop things in the chat. Now, you drop things in the chat, you have any questions, you're welcome to drop them in the chat. I do my best to get to them. If we don't have anybody on the show, then great. I'll answer them all. It's no big deal. If we do have somebody on the show, it might be a little bit more difficult for me to answer any of those questions. So just so you know, call-ins obviously take priority. And it's funny because every time I send out the email in reference to this, right? What ends up happening is people will call in like during the middle of the daytime. In the middle of the day, they'll try to call in. I'm like, the show starts at 8 o'clock, so you probably don't want to call in right now. But it's just, first world problems, as I would always say. So it's not a bad thing. It's actually an amazing thing. Now, let's start talking about the topic. And this topic came up because when I have classes, people do ask questions. And one of the questions that was asked in a recent class was, what do you do to improve, right? So whether you're brand new or you've been around the game for a little bit of time, what do you do to make yourself better, right? And I can offer up all kinds of books to read and this and that and that and this. I'm assuming that you can go figure out that information on your own because there's tons of resources out there. And maybe one day we can talk about some books and get into that kind of stuff, right? But I'm going to tell you what happened with me, and maybe that will help you in the future in terms of what you decide to do and how you decide to deal with things. So, back in the day, I've been around Scrum since 2005, and then I moved on to an organization on the East Coast. Well, I was doing Scrum and everything was good because I had a nice mentor. I was learning a lot of great things. Everything was good. And then that mentor called me because he had left and went to an organization in Texas. And so I was like, okay. And he called me one day and said, just listen to some people. Yeah. Ultimately, I took an interview with them. I ultimately got hired. But here's the deal. When I showed up a few weeks later, everybody that was coaches, they were actually older than me. Now, I was raised by a lot of women, and I'm raised by my grandmother, so I'm going to say grandmothers, even though obviously I spent more time with one versus the other. But I was raised by an older generation, and one of the things that I was always taught was to be respectful of my older generation. And so what happened for me is I firmly believed in my heart of hearts, I seriously believed in my heart of hearts that all the people who were there that were older than me, and that was every single one of them, right? That they had more knowledge than me, that they had more experience than me, that they were better at this whole Scrum/Agile coach thing than me. So I was really, really intimidated. I mean, I was super intimidated. And in being super intimidated, I just shut my mouth and I started doing Scrum. because I was just given two teams, nothing really huge, just two teams, probably 8 to 10 people in terms of what composed the team. Probably really didn't have a product owner on the teams, but we did what we could, right? Because we had a business analyst and things of that nature. So Scrum bud, not perfect Scrum, right? But what happened is we was able to deliver working product to our definition of done. Yeah, we had a done and a done, but we was actually able to deliver working product to our definition of done 3 sprints in a row, right? Starting off with sprint 1 for each of those teams that I was on. So really, I had 6 deliveries that happened, right? In a really short period of time. And all I really did was go and I created a card wall, right? And I made sure that we as a team were focused on delivering something of value. And we did. People didn't believe it initially, and then after a couple times of doing it, they were pleasantly surprised. But starting sprint 1, I would say probably starting sprint 0, because I was intimidated, right? Because we did have a sprint 0. What ended up happening is I was very sad, okay? And I had a major bout of what many would call imposter syndrome, okay? And it's really tough. It's one thing having imposter syndrome when you are going someplace. It's another thing when you feel it while you're there and you feel like everybody else is better than you. Like you're looking at people, they seem like they've been around more places than you've been. All these kind of things I'm thinking in my head, right? So I have a situation. I really have a situation, right? So here's what I did. And I want you all to understand this and maybe take this as advice. Because any new Scrum Master, I kind of give them an advice. If I'm personally coaching them, this is exactly what I say to them. If you really want to get better at the Scrum thing, you need to run Scrum on yourself. You need to Scrum yourself, right? Yeah, I know the title of this is Retro Yourself, but this is my way of retroing myself because it gives me a certain level of accountability. So what I did is I ran Scrum on me. You understand? Let me repeat that. I did 1-day sprints on me. When in the morning I came in, we had sprint planning. And then along the way, we'd have a daily Scrum. I'd have a daily Scrum, right, around lunchtime. So before lunch, I'd make sure I have a daily Scrum just to evaluate how I was doing that day. And then to make sure that I was focused on what else was coming next, right? Because things always change. Then at the end of the day, every single day, I'd have a sprint review where I took a look at the things in terms of the product. And then I'd have a retrospective to really talk about lessons learned of what I can do to get better, right? I wasn't worried about the goods. I was worried about the things that didn't go so well and then how I was going to get better. So a good example of that would be I may have had trouble explaining a concept to someone during that day. And so the question in my head was, how can I get better at explaining a particular concept? So then I would make sure that if I had to read some information, had to go learn some information, I determined what I needed to do, in a short period of time to improve upon whatever that thing was. So the next day, I would incorporate that thing and I would make sure that I kept notes so I didn't forget these things, right? And so what ended up happening, which was a plus for me, I think I arrived there somewhere October, right? Probably maybe even September. I don't know the exact time frame. But in December, before it was time to break off and leave for break, like a lot of corporate America folks do, the last half of December is dead, right? And so what ended up happening is I learned that they were releasing the vast majority of the coaches. Like there was like 14, 15, 16 coaches, whatever the number is. They let go 10 or 12 coaches and really kept 3 behind for various reasons. But one of the reasons why they decided to let many of the other coaches go is because I was delivering. I didn't realize that at that time. I was delivering. I thought everybody was delivering. What it turned into next was that they put me on a portfolio as the Agile coach of a 200-person portfolio. Okay? When we were trying this Scrum thing out, we had about 14 to 17 teams, something like that, right? Again, it wasn't anywhere near perfect. Again, I'm the only coach, unbearable, but I'm taking on any challenge because it's worth me taking on whatever challenge exists. Does that make sense? And so I'm sitting here like, whoa. And what came out of that was me being able to be a part of us delivering the first application on the market where you scan a check and deposit in the bank. And that started a whole mobile banking movement amongst the financial institutions. But they were the first ones to actually do it, and I was a part of the effort that helped to deliver that. Does that make sense? And we did that using Agile. Again, Agile, Scrum, Kanban wasn't really a thing at that time. And we did the best that we could do, and we got stuff out. And trust me, there's a lot of problems associated with that. But I attribute my ability to do that to the time that I spent running Scrum on myself. And my purpose for running Scrum on myself was self-improvement, was personal development. Because I would read a bunch of books, I would jump into articles, I would consume resource after resource after resource after resource, just to make sure that I can be the best at everything that existed within my world. Does that make sense? At everything that existed within my world. And so that was really, really important for me. And that really, if I really say anything to you, that really changed my life. That changed my life completely. Because I put myself in a position where I gained some success. I didn't feel like such an imposter at that point. I actually proved out a few things. Now, it may seem crazy to sit up there and run Scrum on yourself, but that's the tool that I had, right? It's the tool that I had, and why not use something that I'm promoting to everybody as one of the best things since sliced bread? And so I don't know what you do in terms of how you improve. But at least I've learned Scrum gives me all the tools that I need to be able to go through a process, learn, and use that process to help me grow. Because it gives me a fundamental structure that allows me to, one, learn a lesson, implement those lessons learned, and see how those lessons learned have an impact. Instead of trying to change a lot of things at one time, I'm only changing one or two things at a time, and I can see the direct impact of it. So for me, it was amazing. And so I don't know how you learn, right? I don't know what you utilize to grow. But that's what I do. I use Scrum to pretty much retro myself. And that's really the primary reason why I use it when I'm using it personally. Now, I use Scrum for other things, right? But when I get to the place where I'm really using Scrum to help me with those improvements, okay? Now, I'm not saying that's the only thing that you can do. I'm not, by no stretch of the imagination am I saying that. But I am saying it's an option for you, okay? So it's a really amazing option at that for you. So that being said, hey April, how you doing? Hopefully things are going well for you. Haven't been around our mentoring meetings lately, but I need to get myself back engaged and involved in that stuff. It's been a super busy time with this whole college thing and everything else. So, but that's good. Tamika, how you doing? Hello to everyone else that's out there. But here's my question. What do you do to improve? Just drop it in the chat. How do you take care of personal development for yourself? How do you apply that concept of a retrospective for your personal improvement? At work or in life or whatever it is, I'm just curious about what some of you all do because I pretty much just use Scrum. I just use Scrum because I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like it's not good enough for me to just come up with an actionable item. What I have to do is execute on that actionable item, and Scrum offers me the execution aspect of it as well. Okay? Which is really, really critical and amazing for me because I just love it. There's no reason for me to not love it, not love how it works for me, right? Because I've seen it be wildly successful for me. Now, is it going to be wildly successful for everybody? I don't know. I can't say that, right? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do what I normally do. I'm going to drop in the chat the actual link, right? As usual, if you have any questions related to Scrum, Agile, entrepreneurship, whatever it is, right? You are welcome to go ahead and ask your question, or I'd love for you to join me, right? Because that's more interactive. That's always a great thing. But I'm gonna drop in the chat that actual link for you to join if you want to join. Just know that anyone who joins the actual call-in show will actually have the opportunity to get on and get their questions answered faster. April, I don't understand why it says you're a third connection. We should be first connection, so I don't know why you didn't request me on LinkedIn. I'm going to hold you accountable for that, for not requesting me on LinkedIn. It's a whole problem. I'm just saying. So that's not such a bad thing. It's one of those things when I talk about using that whole Scrum approach in terms of my improvements. Something I bring up every once in a while when people ask a question. It's not something I bring up very often because you know how you just do what you do. You just run your own flavor. You just are your own flavor. And so it's no real big deal. It's just kind of what I do. And so that is what it is. That is what it is. And so I got other things that's going on that I don't want to bring up until I confirm a couple things. But other than that, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat or join us on the show, and we will kind of go from there. So I'm going to open the lines up as we continue having conversations here, and then we will take care of it at that particular point in time. Maybe next time I'll talk about my retro. The retro I always use. People like to hear about that as well. Because I don't know, I just have this belief. I've always had a belief that retrospectives are the bread and butter for everything. It's like, I don't feel like you should do almost anything unless you're going to retro about it, especially when it comes to professional world. I can't say I'm a perfectionist because I'm far from that. But I really do hold myself extremely accountable. I really, really do, right? Extremely accountable. Not so much everybody else. If you're really close to me, I might hold you a little bit more accountable. But I don't do that for everybody, right? And so it's just one of those things where I just operate a certain way, and me finding ways to improve is an amazing thing. It's just like how I deal with my PDUs, my SEUs, my CEUs, I don't even know what I call the diversity practitioner one, but just in the way I deal with those things too. I have to make all these things work because all of us have limited time. And with the fact that I have, X number of kids and run around doing all kinds of things for whoever, it just turns into a time management nightmare if you don't take care of things, right? So I always am promoting to find ways to make life better for those around me and for myself as we continue to gravitate and move forward. So I'm looking here. I don't see anyone has dropped any questions. and I don't see anyone joining the show, we will just continue and we'll talk about something else, right? So I'm looking forward to actually getting involved in some of the agile and Scrum meetings that are coming up. You know, the regular meetups, but I'm looking forward to having a gathering because I haven't been to one in almost 3 years at this point, physically to one. So I'd love to get in that position where that can happen. And if you have not been to a Scrum gathering or the Agile Alliance conference, you're missing out because it's a place where you run into a bunch of like-minded people. And I would say to you that, you know, a lot of times people that show up to those conferences are newer people. I would probably say more than 50% of them are newer people. But the idea, though, right? The idea is that if you're newer, brand new to Scrum, it's a good place to find kinfolk, right? It's a good place to find people who are going through a similar experience like you. So when I first became a Scrum Master, I was at my first Scrum gathering within 6 months. I don't know. I just I'm real good at following what my mentors tell me. So if my mentor says, hey man, go do this and go do that, I'm probably gonna go do this and go do that. Because my philosophy has always been, they've been there, right? So I had a guy reach out to me who is a person that I've mentored. And he basically asked me, was I going to the Scrum gathering? And, I told him my situation, the kid situation and all this college stuff, right? And, I told him literally, man, you just need to go. And he's going to take a whole crew with him, but you just need to go. Because people don't know who you are until they start seeing your face. And even if they don't really get a chance to break bread with you, even if they don't get a chance to talk to you, the connection of your face, right, just helps them to almost know you better. But when that time comes where you can break bread and have a conversation with them, okay? And can have a conversation with them. So it's super amazing, right? So I have a question here. It's a really simple question. And are you currently offering any mentor services? The answer to that is a resounding yes. But right now I am completing a pilot. And once that pilot is complete, then we're going to do something bigger. Okay? So right now, completing a pilot. And probably in the next 30 days or so, you will hear about that second cohort. Okay? So know that's coming. Know it's coming. Know it's coming. It's on its way, right? But you got to know, I always test things out, even though it's not going to be perfect even when I do it. But if you want to spend a year hanging out with me, I think we could have some fun. 6 months, a year, whatever that's gonna be. So Jermaine, absolutely, we definitely do that. So I appreciate your question, and we will keep it moving. So and you've been in touch, Jermaine. You got the email. Just let me know if you want to know more information. But I will announce it here and give people the opportunity to join. Obviously, we have another question here, right? What is the difference between increment and minimum viable product? Increment and minimal viable product, MVP. Okay? Let's offer up some definitions. What is an increment is the question. Now, I'm going to talk to you from a Scrum perspective. An increment is the sum of all completed work from this sprint and previous sprints. Okay? And a minimally viable product does not equal that. It's not the same thing. Okay? A minimally viable product is what you're going to minimally put together in order to release, in order to package for whoever it is. Now, if you go and read Lean Thinking, Lean Startup, if you go read Lean Startup, you probably will notice that an MVP is a little different there, because an MVP is described there to be more of a way to learn, more of a test. So I classically use MVPs for testing. Okay? Now, let's talk for a second, because I want you to understand something. Let's say I'm on sprint number 5, and I have 2 items that are going to be going into the MVP, and 2 items that we're working on for a future release. Both of these can be in an increment. Both of these are building toward the increment. It's just when we get these 2 things done, they're going to be a part of what's going to be called the MVP, and we may decide to release that. But I'm going to add that stuff to whatever's been built, and now this is all the increment because it's the sum of all completed work. So they're different things. What I would say to you, and what I would add to that, and what I would say for you to research a tad bit, would be the differences between an MVP and a minimally marketable features. Minimally marketable features. Because those things are different. And they both can be releasable, obviously, but minimally marketable features is where the customer or the user perceives value. They don't have to perceive value when it comes down to an MVP. You can put an MVP out there that does something internal and doesn't have an impact or doesn't give any perception of value to the actual user. Then you have to also say to yourself, what's a vertical slice, right? And again, I'm going to use a vertical slice as something I can learn from, or as a building block, right? Going through all the architectural layers of actually delivering something. So there's differences between them all, but could they be roughly the same? Could you take an increment that you've completed and make that your minimally viable product and release that? Yeah, you could. You could. But there is differences between them. So I would say take a little bit of time and look those things up a tad bit. So, and then, because I don't think I've done them justice. Okay? I don't honestly think I've done them justice. But that's roughly what it is. An increment is not the same as an MVP. An MVP is not the same as MMF. And MMF is by far is not the same as vertical slices. So those concepts are concepts that you probably need to have a nice little grasp on, especially if you're working with a team that's going to be doing production stuff. There's going to be releasing at some point. There's going to be out there with whatever it is that you're trying to do. Okay? So good question, right? You know, I'll be talking about that stuff probably this Wednesday, you know, because there's always a question that comes up in a CSM class, so I have to worry about it there. And whenever you talk about user stories in general, it's always a topic that comes up as well. But making sure you have a clear understanding of that is going to make your life a little bit easier as a Scrum Master, product owner, or as a manager who's managing a bunch of people that's doing these things, right? So you want to be able to do that. You want to be able to take care of it. You want to actually be amazing and good to go. And as long as you can do that and understand that, you're probably in an amazing position. So, good question. I appreciate the question. Any other questions? Again, drop in the chat or you're welcome to join. It's always funny because I always have people that send me questions and I tell them to join the show. And I think they always forget about the show. So then I always say, their question wasn't that important. Their question was important enough for me to answer them immediately. But I save questions for the show because I want to record it. So and then we can actually build content, right? So and then we can make sure that stuff is available for everyone all the time, right? Let's see. Another thing, right? Hopefully everybody's having a good week, right? A good week to start off, at least a good Monday. It's just been an interesting past few weeks for me. If you got kids that are getting up there, about to go to college and stuff like that, we need to create a club to hang out, because it's a lot of busy work. Depending on, you may be the person that's not involved in your kid stuff whatsoever, but if you're involved, it's gonna take you some busy work. So I'll double check here, and I'm looking out here, and let me double check to see if any other questions have come in. I don't see any questions that have come in. I normally stay here as long as you all have questions. Seeing no questions, I'll give it a few minutes, then we'll close it out for this time, and then show back up next week and actually do the same thing, right? Because again, I'm here really to answer your questions, not really to be trying to teach all these different things, even though I guess some of this is what you would call teaching. Let me know, do you like my background? Do you like my background? You see that? I got a few comics up. Obviously, I got the cute stuff up. I can't really get away from doing that. I got Major Taylor up. I got my gong. I love my gong because I can always do that. There's a story behind the gong and everything else. If you've ever been around me, you might know. You know what I don't have up, which is ridiculous, and I just got to grab them. I got to figure out a place to put mumbles, because this right here is a big deal too for me. So I'm going to put mumbles right there for a second. I know some people be like, why the heck you carrying around a penguin? You realize that mumbles is, I used to carry around mumbles inside of companies. I'd be coaching inside of companies, and I would carry mumbles around. I literally would carry mumbles from meeting to meeting, and I would set mumbles up in a chair. and I'm not talking about, I'm talking in corporate 500 companies. I don't know why they allowed me to do it, but they did. But that's just a part of the journey, right? And I guess they think these agile guys are weird, so we'll let them do whatever they want to. As long as they're not causing any major trouble, we'll let them do whatever they want to do. But they let me carry that penguin literally around. I thought it was actually pretty cool. So if you was around me back in the day, you would have seen that penguin kind of rolling around. This is a good thing, okay? At one point, I left an organization. I left the penguin behind, for them to keep the movement going. That's when we was doing the year of Agile and all kinds of stuff. I actually found that stuff that I did back in the day. I had to pull it out one day and show it to you, right? That would be that would be super amazing, right? All right, so let's see. Jen, all right, let's see. From our class today, is there a system in place to shadow Scrum Masters for experience? No, there is not a system that I know of to shadow Scrum Masters for experience. Anybody that probably wants you to do, they probably will allow you to shadow, will do it because an organization is probably going to receive some benefit because you are going to be interning or something like that. Or you're going to have people, probably get people that's going to love you enough to do it, or you have to pay them to observe, right? Because, it really is, it really is. Observation isn't just observation. It really is exchanging knowledge, right? And so I don't know of any programs. If there's anybody here that knows of any programs where someone will allow you to shadow them, then let me know. I'll let everybody else know. So you let me know, I'll let everybody else know. The problem is with programs like that that's free, it can become a little over, just overbearing for the people that's doing it. But I don't know of any system in place where people can shadow Scrum Masters. Now, what I would say to you, though, it might be beneficial for you to use forums like this to also learn. This is a great forum to learn in, right? You don't get hey, we're going into meetings and everything else, but this is a good forum to learn. Going to Scrum-related meetups is a good forum to learn. You just want to find good forums to learn, even though shadowing like that may not exist. Good forums to learn actually do exist, and you have to remember we are still in a pseudo-pandemic, right? And being in a pseudo pandemic means that there's a lot of Scrum meetups, you know, the ones that have survived COVID, they are still, right? Meeting virtually. Okay? Meeting virtually. So you want to find some of those meetups that are, you know, getting together and make sure that you go and introduce yourselves to them, meet up with them, go learn in that situation as well. I would recommend that above and beyond shadowing, because I think that once you get into an organization, you'll have the opportunity to shadow. But I just haven't seen anything like that, a program for shadowing. I just haven't seen anything like that. And a lot of times when people do programs and stuff like that, you know, it's a lot of times based on need. Like, you've been out of a job for a while, so we're going to help you get better at changing careers, you know. So I just don't know of anything like that. But then I say, what areas in life, what jobs in life do they actually let you shadow somebody and you have no association with that organization? I mean, I don't know of any. If you all know of an industry that allows people to shadow and you don't have to have no association with that job or anything like that, or they have programs where you can shadow like that, let me know those industries. Because I know that, you know, when you're becoming a nurse, you go through some class situation and you can observe, but you're part of some class situation. So that's a little bit different. And they set up where you learn. So in the medical field, I see those kind of things, right? But I don't see that from, I'm interested, so let me go shadow. So I can't go and shadow a bunch of residents in a hospital, right? They don't have a system in place that does that. So I don't know any industry that does that, thinking off the top of my head, but I definitely don't know of any Scrum, Agile, Kanban, extreme programming programs that are like that. Have I heard of, you know, workforce commissions, unemployment offices trying to establish programs like that? Yeah, I've heard of that, but I haven't seen those things be utilized for jobs, for cognitive work-related jobs. So when I mean jobs that require you to use your brain more than your physical body, right? I don't see that a lot for those kind of jobs. Other kind of jobs, I think I see it a lot. But in terms of a Scrum job, I don't see that. At least I haven't seen it. But I'm not saying it does not exist. Understand? Hear me. I'm not saying it does not exist. There's probably programs out there where that absolutely exists, right? But BA is coming. Don't worry about what BA is, but BA is coming. BA is coming. Maybe it'd be called BEA. We'll see. But BA is coming. BEA. Yeah, it's coming. So don't worry about it. We're going to have some special stuff coming up. Yeah, so anyway, like I was saying, that would be nice to see, though. That would actually be very nice to see, because I get the question a lot about people that want to find ways to learn beyond the classroom environment. Beyond the classroom environment, okay? And I just don't see a lot of those opportunities out there to do that. I wish I could say something different. But, you know, a lot of times organizations just don't let people come to their companies that are not associated with their company. And then for somebody else to be doing it, you know, they have to also find a way to take care of their families and get paid. I don't know. So I just don't see it happening. But yeah, it could be out there, but I just don't see it. But if you do see it, let me know. And if anybody know of it, drop it in the chat. Let everybody else know, right? Because the idea is that we don't want to be stingy with our information. We want to make sure that people are receiving this information in, you know, in a good and timely way. So that's just another major thing. It's just a good thing. It's just nothing but pluses. Okay? Let's see. What else do we have here? Okay. I don't see any other questions, so you have any questions, drop them in the chat. Other than that, we're gonna go ahead and shut it down for the day. We always hit 30 minutes. Well, we always hit roughly an hour. We can go a little bit less today. But as usual, I am here on Mondays, 8 p.m. Central Time. So if you have any questions about Scrum, you can know that I will be consistently here. And if you have any questions, just come and join us and ask your question. Other than that, here's what I'm going to say to you all. Look, enjoy the rest of your week. I will see you on the Agile journey, and I'm looking forward to our time together. So have a wonderful evening. I will talk to you soon. Peace.